Now, I made my first investment in the stock market at age 19. And I started investing towards financial freedom with just $7. So just by this, you need to know this, okay guys? You don't need to have a bunch of money to accomplish financial freedom when it comes to the stock market. You can start little by little and build up to a massive amount of money. Now, the truth is this, guys, okay? In this video, I'm going to break it down into 3 phases or 3 parts. Phase number 1, I'll tell you my mistakes. Number 2, I'll tell you what I invest into. And number 3, I'll show you how to put this plan into action. So this way, you can actually put the whole picture together. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what my system actually is. And by the way, what I accomplish is financial freedom, but it is phase 1. And by the end of this video, you'll know all 3 phases of financial freedom and why this is the most important one. Now, as always, guys, like this video on top by also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And I'm also Tommy Bryson, that's my name, and I am an accountant. All right. Now, the very first thing, guys, is this. Early on, I made 3 main mistakes. Why do I want to start this video with mistakes? Because guess what? I could brag about, hey, I did a good job here, but for the most part, I want to tell you this mistake so you don't go ahead and make them. This way, you save a bunch of money. Number 1 is, when you're first starting out, you're going to be wondering, where do I put my money? Is it with M1 Finance? Is it with Acorn? What brokerage do I use? Go for simple and big. My favorite brokerage is basically Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab's, okay? These are massive brokerages with a lot of money, and they have all the investments you have. I currently use Vanguard. Number 2 is, one big mistake I made early on is being too conservative. At first, I had 7 different investments when I only needed 1, and that was good enough. So these days, I only invest into one thing. You'll know what in the following few minutes. Now, number 3 is, I was picking stocks. To pick stocks, like I'm gonna pick Apple, I'm gonna pick Microsoft. To do it the right way, you need to sit down on this chair for 6 to 4 hours every single day and do research. That's the right way to do it. Guess what? I'm lazy. I don't want to do that. I just want to make passive investments. So you don't need to do that. But early on, I wanted to do that because of Warren Buffett, all right? But you don't need to do that. Now, phase 2, guys, okay? Here's the next part of this video. Tommy, what is your only investment and how much does it make you every single year? Well, the answer is my only investment right now is into the Vanguard S&P 500. Now, that is an ETF. An ETF is an exchange traded fund. Don't go anywhere yet. It's very simple to understand this, okay? An exchange traded fund, imagine if you have a bucket filled with stocks and you get together with your friends and say, let's pool up some money and let's buy this bucket of stocks. That's what you're actually buying when you're buying a fund. And this bucket of stocks is basically traded in the stock market. That is the idea. It's not that complicated. Now, when I say I invest into the S&P 500, Standard & Poor's, just ignore the Standard & Poor's part. Just listen to the 500, okay? The 500 basically means the 500 largest companies in the entire US. Now, Tommy, aren't you worried that you're not that diversified? The answer is no. Here's why. Because when you have the 500 largest, within that, you have car companies like Tesla, which is also cars and tech. You have companies like Microsoft, companies like Facebook, Amazon, Walmart, massive companies like Apple that are in different markets. So that way, I'm diversified. But tell me, what if the US goes down? Well, remember, these companies don't just do business in America, they do business outside of America. So that means I'm also diversified into different markets. So companies might not do that well in America, but they might be doing a lot better outside of the US. So I'm not that afraid. Now, how much does this make me on average? Over the last 72 years, it makes about 10.52 or 54%. That's the idea. Now, for me currently right now, that's actually what it has been averaging. But overall, when you think about it, okay, you'll have years where you make money, have years when you don't make money, but over a 10, 20-year spree, you're going to have just like a 10 to 12% average. That's the idea, okay? That's how much you're actually going to make. Tommy, dollar-wise though, how much does it bring in for you? The answer is, I can make about $30,000 a year for my investments right now. And to me, that is awesome. But that's not how much money I take out. You'll know how much just in a minute, okay? Now, the third part is this, okay? How do you pull all this together? My mistakes, my only investment, and where I have it, all right? So what's the system here? The system is not that complicated. First of all, phase one of financial freedom is this. You want enough money to come in passively to cover the amount of money you need to basically survive, all right? Meaning, I cannot live a lavish lifestyle from my investments in the stock market. But what my investments in the stock market actually make me, they're able to cover all of my real life necessities to actually survive. And what are those? You have shelter, you have utilities, you have groceries, and you have transportation. Now, I love using real numbers and real examples when I actually do these videos, so this way you actually know what's going on. Now, I can make literally like about $1,000 a month from the stock market. You're probably saying, Tommy, you're saying that you have phase one of financial freedom just with $1,000? The answer is yes, and here's why. My shelter cost right now is only about $165 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment here in Dominican Republic. Now, before you phase out and say, Tommy, well, that's not fair. That's Dominican Republic. In America, it would cost you a lot more money. In reality, in Puerto Rico, I had a paid off home. So my point is, it doesn't matter because whether I live in the US, Dominican Republic, or an island, my objective is going to be on how can I lower my cost of living, especially shelter, to the lowest as possible. So I'm willing to pay cash for a home, do that, or I'm willing to basically rent out a cheap apartment, do that, or even rent out a cheap room. That is the idea, to be able to have that survival number for phase one. Number two is utilities. Here on gas, light, water, internet, and phone bill, I spend about $120 a month. My groceries are about $300, and my transportation is about $200 every single month. Altogether, when you sum up these numbers, I spend about $785 a month. Now, do I actually spend that much money? No. I spend about $1,500 a month. But again, this is phase one of survival. I spend $1,500 because I like doing it, but if I actually had to tighten things up, I could basically live and survive on $785, no problem. That is the idea. And that's what you actually want to accomplish with phase one. Now, here is the main question. How do I know how much money I need in the stock market to be able to make that much money every single month? The answer is pretty simple. Now, here it is. You want to go over to your phone. Here it is. And again, I spend $785 every single month. Multiply your survival expenses per month times 12. Remember, survival expenses are shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation. Multiply by 12. Every year, I spend about $9,420. It's not that much money, but I love this number. Now, if you divide this number by 0.04, it'll give you the total amount you need in the stock market, okay? So divided by 0.04, that gives you a number of about $235,500. So if I have this much money in the stock market, I can be able to live off my investments, no problem. Now, tell me, what's the 4% about? The answer is, well, the 4% basically means this. Remember, I told you on average, you make about 10%. Well, every single year is gonna make me about 10%, right? So times 10 is actually about $23,550. That's my profit. But I'm not gonna take that full profit. I only wanna take 4%. This way, I leave money to keep growing, and I take money out to actually live, okay? This way you have compound interest over time, your investments grow, while you're still taking money to actually live on. That's the full idea there. Now, how do you actually do this? The answer is, you have to cut your expenses as low as possible. If you make $4,000 a month, try to live on $2,000 and invest $2,000. And then run the numbers with a savings goal calculator to see exactly how long it'll take you to get to your goal. And use about a 10% return as a normal average or so. That is the idea. Now, in all honesty, here's a confession. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I hate this plan. Absolutely hate it. I can't stand it. And here's why. Because even if you get to the number of, let's say for me, $235,000, that same year, the market can go down by 50%. for like 10 years, and then you're basically screwed over, okay? So that's why I say you gotta be very careful with this plan, and here's why. I rather run it like this, okay? So I rather, for example, be debt-free. That's less leverage on my side. Have an emergency account for 6 months to 12 months even. That way, if things go wrong in the stock market, I can cover my expenses. And then third, I actually want to be investing in the stock market, yes, but I also want to be investing towards paying off my home as fast as possible. And what happens is this: if you have a paid off home, the amount of money you actually need from the stock market is going to be less because your cost of living effectively is going to be less. So if you're spending $1,300 on rent right now, but if you have, for example, a paid off home, well, guess what? You don't have to have that much money in the stock market because you don't have that much high of a cost of living. That's the idea. So I'd rather have a paid off home, some in the stock market, so if it does go down, I don't have that much of a high cost of living. And overall, guys, here's also a confession. Although I can make $1,000 from the stock market, I don't take any money out because I want to continue that money to actually be growing and growing and growing. And my income is still enough to cover my expenses, so I don't have to interrupt my investments. That's the idea. So when do you start taking money out? Well, when you want to. That's the idea. If I want to stop working today and live off my investments, I could do that. If I lost my job today and need to take money out of my investments, I could do that. So you do it when you need to or when you want to. That's the idea. But the more money you have in the stock market, the better it's going to be, because if you only need 200K, but you have 500K, you have 2.5x the amount of money you actually need, something like that. So that way you can easily be more than fine and not worried about massive drops in the stock market. But overall, guys, that is how I achieve phase 1 of financial freedom. So don't forget it. Phase 1 is to have enough money coming in from the stock market to cover your basic survival necessities. As always, guys, comment down below these facts so I know you watch this video fully. Number 1, what is your survival expense per year? Number 2, how much money do you need in the stock market to actually make that much money? Remember, just divide it by 0.04 to get that number. And number 3 is, how long is it going to take you to actually accomplish that goal? How do you do that? Go on Google, type in savings goal calculator, type in your total amount of money you actually need, how much you'll actually be investing, your return, click calculate, and it'll tell you exactly how long it'll take you, right? That's the idea. Comment down below those 3 facts, so this way you actually took action by watching this video. All right, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. Up here's another video, over here's my face, and as always, long-term team officially out.